This is because, Your Honor, such intrusion into bank accounts is against the Constitution, which in the Bill of Rights.
Violation is?
Which is Section 2, unreasonable search.
But you have exceptions, of course, to bank secrecy law, right? So it only proves that the right against intrusion is not absolute.
The exceptions, however, they should actually provide that such acts actually are occurring.
No, but are you aware of the Anti-Money Laundering Act that we have here in the Philippines?
And also the Anti-Terrorism.
Yes, which does not.
Laundering money, and then it just report to the money laundering council. They can inquire into a bank deposit. So our question is, what is so important with preventing a person's bank account to the point that you cannot even inquire? Just inquire. I'm not going to forbid it or anything. Just going to inquire. The person suspected as to amount to a violation of my constitutional rights.
Republic Act 1405 was made for the fact that the Philippines wanted the economy of the country to further develop, therefore requiring the bank intrusion to be outlawed. Therefore, if such thing is actually legalized, this would actually be detrimental to our country because a lot of people will feel that just by mere suspicion, my bank accounts can be intruded. It can even be forfeited and freezed.
Mere suspicion for a terrorist act, which
yes.
is not mere suspicion under normal circumstances. Would you agree with me?
However, Your Honor, I concede on that point. However, the suspicion is not qualified. So it doesn't even say probable cause. That's our point. What are we're contesting? So it is clear that it doesn't pass the government's test. As Justice Cruz aptly expressed, the two criteria must strictly be complied with, lest their disregard remains the police power into an unwarranted intrusion into individual liberty and property rights, or worse, a bludgeon for oppression.
Did I hear your second amendment?
For my second submission, Your Honor, the applicant finds the Anti-Terrorism Act impinges upon the right to liberty and unduly legalizes arbitrary detention. Article 124 of the RPC provides that arbitrary detention is committed by any public officer or employee who, without legal grounds, detains a person.
Yeah, it's okay. I have a question. Have you read Article 10 of the Revised Penal Code? Which says that the provisions of this code are supplementary to the special law. Isn't the 88 special law? So why would there be a violation of Article 25 when there's actually reason for me to detain a person because I think he's committing a terrorist act, so I can detain him and then I will not fall into the provision of Article 1, right?
This would again be against the Constitution. So besides it being contrary to what we see, it is also against the Constitution. So that would warrant it violated. The elements of the crime are the offender is a public officer or employee, that he detains a person, and the detention is without legal grounds. Section 19 of the ATA is clearly an act of arbitrary detention prohibited by our own laws. It also provides for warrantless arrests. Section 5 of Rule 113 of the Rules of Court enumerates the instances when a peace officer may arrest a person without warrant. Section 19 affords the law enforcer may arrest a person.
But terrorism is not an ordinary crime. It requires activeness on the part of the government to at least, which sanctions them to lower the standards in order to address the specialized nature of terrorism. So if we just stick with the present standards, how can we address such crime?
Your Honor, the everyone concedes that terrorism is a special crime and it is a legitimate evil that must be crushed and must be addressed by the Philippines. However, it should not go against the Constitution. These safeguards have been laid down, and this should adhere to these safeguards as well. We cannot just do away with the Constitution, the safeguards that the Constitution has given, and lay down just because the crime of terrorism is a special law. Special crime, sorry. Section 19 affords that the law enforcer may arrest a person without warrant when an offense is committed and he suspects the person to have committed such acts. This once again disregards the need for probable cause. In such instance, probable cause requires personal knowledge of the public officer of the commission of the crime. Yet the law in the context only requires suspicion.
But Agent, wouldn't there be surveillance conducted by police officers that would give them at least a basis why they suspect why such person is engaging in terrorism?
Your Honor, that would be a presumption on the act, as it only provides for the word suspected. It is not
because I don't understand that. Why will police officers be arbitrary in arresting anyone they want just because they think they would be engaging in terrorist acts? Isn't there a presumption of regularity that police officers are doing their jobs and they wouldn't just arrest anyone they want?
It would be a presumption of regularity if it was not based on suspicion. But since it is based on suspicion and it is not based on probable cause, you cannot, Your Honor cannot just say that it is a presumption of regularity, as there is no actually rules or basically safeguards to say that it is not just suspicion, it is not need.
There are safeguards because first, as to the bank accounts, there must be a court order. Second, as to police officer who might abuse their powers in just arresting anyone based on suspicion, the accused could come before this court and file a case against such police officer. So, aren't those safeguards enough?
Your Honor, it would have been enough if the safeguards provided for probable cause. However, it does not provide for probable cause, it only provides for suspicion.
What's so wrong with suspicion?
Suspicion is defined as an apprehension or imagination of the existence of something wrong, based on inconclusive or slight evidence.
So, for example, I suspect someone about committing a crime, am I not allowed to inquire as to their house or the circumstances surrounding that suspicion? Will I just allow it to happen?
You may inquire, Your Honor, you may investigate. However, you shouldn't just go into the bank accounts without probable cause. You have to first find out, first investigate, and make further investigation to have probable cause to actually intrude in the bank accounts in order to further your investigation.